Hello, so I'm going to do some CSS art and I'm going to start with the container that I like to use an article because semantically an article is a self-contained element or a thing, a piece of content, and this is going to be a drawing that in itself is self-contained. I'm going to give it a role of image. That way, if there's a screen reader and a person that is using a screen reader, when they reach my CSS art, it will identify it as an image and I will give it an area label. So not only it identifies it as an image, but it describes it. In this case, this is going to be a cartoon of a cat, for example. So I'm going to close the JavaScript tab because we don't need it. Another option of doing this that may be better is adding here a div id, let's say alt, and then we're going to put this text here, and we're going to say area label by, and it's going to be labeled by alt. So now it's going to identify it as an image and it's going to read this. And what we need to do is the article, the alt in particular, we're going to give it a width of 1 pixel, a height of 1 pixel, and an overflow of hidden. That way it's going to be not visible even when it's there. Although it's visible right now because I forgot to put the hash, so it's the ID selector. Okay, so let's focus on the container. What I like to do is set a font size, and I'm going to use vmin, so it's responsive and I can play a little bit with that, but it could be any value. Why do I set a font size? The idea is that there's some things like box shadows that do not like units like percentages, and by using font size, I can use the unit em. So for example, if I put here font size 5%, I could be using em and it would be a percentage. It's not the right thing to do, but it's convenient. And now I'm going to give it a width and a height. So let's start with a width of, let's say, 80 em, and I'm going to give it an outline so I can see it. Dash red, let's say that way. It's there. The height, so I want it to be a square, so I'm going to say aspect ratio of 1. Instead of 1, I can say 1 1. That means that for each unit of width is going to have a unit of height, but instead of writing 1/1, we can do directly 1. Okay, on top of that, and this is just for me having the drawing center in the page, I'm going to see body has a margin of 0, a mean height of 100 VH, an overflow of hidden, a display of grid, and a place items of center. And with this, you can see how to center an element in the screen using grid and place items. I'm going to close it. We don't care about that, to be honest. But what we care is that the article, it's here, is our canvas, let's say. It's not a canvas element, but it's our canvas for painting. We're going to add a position relative so we can draw inside. And then everything inside, sorry, not ampersand, but asterisk, everything inside and its pseudo elements before and after, we're going to give it a position of absolute and a box sizing of border box. By setting a position absolute inside a relative element, we're making sure that the elements are going to be positioned respectively to the container, to the canvas in particular. Anyway, so now I said that we're going to draw a cat. So let's start by saying the head, right? That's an important part. Div class head. And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to come here and say it's a class. So I put a dot instead of the hash. And I'm going to say width of, I don't know, let's say 80%. An aspect ratio, again, I'm going to use 1. And I'm going to give it a background I don't know, let's say the fur, let's make it a black cat. Okay, so 0, 0, 0. So bar fur. Oh, that's super big. So let's, instead of making this 0.8 maybe. Oh no, sorry, 1.2 is what I want to make. If it's larger than 1, okay, good. So now, why I'm using a CSS variable, a custom property, is that if I want to make the cat brown later, I can change it to 963, and our cat will be brown. If I want to make it blue, I can do 69F, and now we have a blue cat, like Doraemon. But I want it to be black or really dark, so I make it 111. Let's say it that way. And I make it 111, so later I can add a background of black and I can add some shadows if I want to. But let's focus on the head. So it's there, and I'm going to position it 50%, and I'm going to translate minus 50% of its size. That way it's going to be always center. Why do I do that instead of saying, oh, if it has a width of 80, I can ignore the translate and just say left 10%, and then it's going to be center. But the problem is that if I change the size, then it's not center anymore. So the good thing about using left 50 translate minus 50% is that if I change the size later, it's always going to be center. So let's put that 80 back. And now I want the head to have like an oval egg shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use border radius. And I could do 50 and it would look like an ellipse, but I want it to look like an egg. So in order to do that, we can specify several values in a border radius. And I'm not saying 50, 50, 50, 50, that everyone is 50. I mean that you can put a slash, and now you're specifying the horizontal and then the vertical values. So for example, an egg shape will be 100% here. And if you want to make the narrow part of the egg on top, that's the value that you need to make bigger, like 180. And the bottom part is going to be a little bit more rounded, so let's make it 80. You see, now we have kind of an egg shape. Let's make it 70 and maybe 130. Let's see how that looks. It's just playing a little bit with the values. I kind of like more that 80. Maybe 75. Yeah, also maybe this is just a 1-1. Oh, that may be too much. Well, but yeah, you see 130 maybe. I think it's putting it in a way I don't like on top. But yeah, so now we have our cat face there. So what do we need to add to the cat face? We're going to add eyes. So we're going to add 2 eyes, 1 eye. And let's see, copy, paste. And then I'm going to add a nose. And of course I need to add some whiskers. So let's add whisker, let's add like 4 or 5, no, 4 or 6, you know, it would be 2 or 3 in each side. So let's start with 4, and maybe we can add a little bit more later. So now we have the head in itself, and what we are going to do is add the styles for the eyes. I'm going to make it a little bit kawaii style, let's say that way. So I'm going to add the eye. I'm going to say width. It's going to have a width of 35% and aspect ratio of 1, so it's a circle. And to make it a circle, I'm going to add a border radius of 50 and a background of white. Okay, that may be too large, but let's see. One thing I like to do is a little bit symmetrical. So to make sure that both eyes have the same distance from both sides, what I do is I go and put the position, the left position, in a custom property, left bar paws, and then translate minus 50%. And then what I do is that for the other eye, that this is my eye, and the eye next to it, the left is going to be 100% minus the position. And because I am doing the translate minus 50, they are going to be at the same distance from the edge. Let's see how it works. Ooh, that's way too high. Maybe I can do minus 50, so they go up a little. Yeah, and this, you see, now I changed to 20. Oh, that's too much. 25. That looks a little bit better. And then what I'm going to do is that the background is not going to be white. We want to have the eye. So let's add an eye here. Maybe this could be a little higher. So we're going to add a radial gradient that is going to be a circle at, let's say, 60%, 50%, and it's going to be black, 40%, and then transparent. Let's see how that looks. Okay, cool. Another thing, it's looking this way. What we can do is scale -1, 1. Chan. Now we're going to lower the eye a little bit. Ooh, let's put it a little bit smaller. 35. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, that looks okay. Maybe 55 here, 56. That looks fine. And finally, I'm going to do another thing. That is, I'm going to add some shine to the eyes. So that's another radial gradient. And what I'm going to, oh no, wrong button. I'm going to copy and paste this. Okay, and I'm going to make it white. And because it appears before the black, it's going to go on top. But I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. You see? And I'm going to move it to the left and top. And maybe a little bit more to the left and a little bit more to the top. Okay, and here we have a problem. There is this, but we're going to fix it with X1. You see, it's the same issue as before. So we're going to say bar minus X1. We said it's 53%. So here we can say that X1 is 47%. Sorry, no, 47, no. So it's, if this is 53, I don't know the math now. Calc 100. No, it should be 43%. No, did I do it wrong? Yes, I did it wrong. Oh, because it's 53 of the whole thing, but I'm not taking into account the eye. So yeah, in this case, it's going to be closer to 73, most likely. A little bit less, 70. Okay, and to be honest, yeah, let's put this here. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, I like how it's coming. Okay, so that's 2 eyes. Oh, that looks a lot bigger, actually. Oh, I know why. So this is going to be a further side circle. Oh, that doesn't help either. Let's put 50-50. Yeah, that's better. And then I'm going to need to make it larger. Okay, but now they have the same size, which is what I wanted. Cool. So now they're almost the same. Almost the same. So let's make it a little bit smaller. Cool. So now I'm going to make another smaller one here. So I copy this code. I'm going to put an X2 because that's how I roll. This is going to be 57 and this is going to be 15. And it's going to be 67. And this is X2 and X2. Let's make it 12. Let's make X2 45. Let's see how that looks. 42 and 65. Okay, so the same way here, we're going to say x2. If this was 70, so let's do 8 less. So 8 less would be 34%. Oh, but no, sorry. I did 20 more, so it's 62%. I don't know math anymore. And that's not how it works. So let's add 72, 82. That's too much. 80, 78. Okay, there it is. So that's our cat's eyes. And now maybe we can add a nose, as I mentioned before. So we have a nose. So for the nose, we're just going to do an ellipse. So width 20%, height 15%, background, let's make it pink directly. But again, we can do this by saying nose pink. So we can change it easier later. And in this case, we're going to make the border radius, we're just going to make it an ellipse. So we're making 50%. Now that we have done that, I realize it's way too big. So let's see how it looks like that. Looks like a circle, 7. That's a little bit better. Let's do top 50, left 50, translate minus 50 minus 50. So we're going to center it, that this is in the center of the face. We want to lower it here, so we're going to add here 70. Let's see how it looks. A little bit better, that's good. And we have kind of a nice face already. What we need to add is the whiskers and probably the mouth. We can add here a mouth, but we'll see how that goes. Another thing that we can do maybe is lower everything. Maybe I was too... the eyes can go a little bit lower maybe. Let's see how they look if we put it 60. 62, maybe too much. Let's put it 60 for now. Be done with that way. Just in case we add later a mouth. But yeah, so we have the face there, and we need to add some ears so it looks like a cat. Div class ear. Another. We're going to put them behind the head, so the head is going to cover it. That way it has two good things, and it's I'm going to rename this, by the way, to skin instead of nose, because I'm going to use it in the ears too. So where are you here? Bar skin. If the ears go behind the head, then if there's an imperfection here, we don't really care, because what we care is that it's behind the head, so we don't see it. So let's say it's not in the head, it's behind the head. So let's make one, and then let's do the other. So we're going to say an ear is going to have a width of, let's say 30%, and an aspect ratio of 1. It's going to have a border of 3em solid bar fur. So it's the color of the fur. And now what we're going to do is that we want to make it pointy. So we can do that giving it a, like an eye shape. And again, half of it is going to be covered by the head, so we don't care about that. We can do that by saying 100%, 10, 100%, 10. See, actually, I may want it to be pointy in this section better. So you see how it looks. Maybe instead of 100, we can say 70 or 80 and 80. And yeah, and we may want to make it larger. There it is. So what we can do is, instead of 3, maybe 4. There it is. And what we're going to say is the background is going to be the color of the skin. Another thing that we want to do, maybe here 5, a little bit pointier. know, maybe we want to make it a little bit larger. Maybe that doesn't look bad. It almost looks like a bat though. I'm not a big fan of that, but we can change that later. Okay, so that's one ear. But what happens to the other one? We do the same technique as earlier. Ear, this is, you read it from right to left. So it's the ear that is right after another ear. So it's going to select this one. And what we're going to do is we're going to say scale -1, 1. So it flips it. And we're going to say right 0. So the first one has a left value by default. You know, we don't specify left or right, so it's going to be at the beginning on the left side. In this case, we can specify a right and it will float here. One problem, if we specify a left, then we have a problem because the left value takes control, let's say that way, it takes precedence over the right. So we don't want to set it. It's by default, we can ignore it and override it, and that's exactly what we want. Okay, so now we have the head of a cat that could look like a bat, to be honest, which is a little bit sad. Maybe we could do it a little bit less rounded there. I don't know. It's looking more and more like a bat, actually. Anyway, we can change that in a second. So we can add the whiskers. So let's go for it. Let's say that a whisker, okay, has a width of 30 and a height of 30 and a background of red, so we can see it. Right now I'm going to I just want to see it. Okay, cool. So I'm going to give it a border radius of 50, and I'm going to give it a border top of a border, actually a whole border of 2 EM solid transparent, and then a border top of, just make it black, but not black, the color of the fur. Did I not do it correctly? Border top color, oh, border, I need to learn how to write. And we want to do the same thing, border left color bar fur. Okay, that's maybe too big, but it's okay. One thing that we can do is a click path polygon. So we're going to make it, let's say, start in this corner. We're going to make it here and then diagonal. Okay, so 100 and 0 is going to go to 100, 100%, and it's going to go to 0, 30%, and from there to 0, 0. Yeah, okay. We remove the background, we don't want it. Okay, and now what we can do is, you know, how many other, you know, I'm just going to move them to the top to make it easier for me, actually. I'm cheating a little bit there, but it's okay. So I'm going to say, oh, what happened? What's in here? Oh, it was just something weird that popped up. Huh? Anyway, if it's the first one, I'm going to put it left, no, top. Let's say top 60. I don't know, and translate -90%, 0. I just can put -80%, 70, and that's still too high, so 70 there too, and let's make it 65 here. Good. Now we're going to get the second one, and I'm going to, oh no, because I want to rotate it too, so let's see how this looks. The second one we're going to put at 80, translate it a little bit less, and we're going to rotate it counterclockwise, so the angle is going to be negative, -10 degrees. Good. So let's say -20. And let's move it. Okay, that's tougher than what I thought. Okay, there's one. And now we can do the other two. So let's go 3 and 4. This is going to be left 100. Oh, so right 0. So it moves all the way to the right. And then instead of translating negative, I'm going to translate it positive. Aha. And I'm going to rotate it a little bit. Let's say 10 degrees. Cool. And now I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to write 0, make this positive, and this, the rotation now is positive. So let's say 25, 24. Okay, so there we have it. That's our cat so far. That's the head of our cat. And now what we're going to do is the body. So the body is going to be behind the head. So let's add it. Oh, I deleted something that I shouldn't have deleted. Div class body. Okay. So the body is going to be here, and it's going to be kind of also like an egg. So let's see how we do it. So we add here a body. We do the same thing as with the head. We're going to position it in the middle by saying translate -50%, and we're going to put it at the bottom. It's going to have a width of, I don't know, maybe 40%. Let's see how that goes. And a height of, let's see how 40% works. And now we're going to say background red. I don't want it red. I want it to be the color of the fur. Okay, now I want to do border radius. And what I'm going to do is I want it to have like a funny shape. So I'm going to say 100%, 200, 200, 80, 80. Let's see how that looks. That looks kind of okay, actually. Well, it doesn't really matter how this is, to be honest, because I'm going to put the legs here in a second. And let's see how that looks. Also, you see there's no differentiation between the head and the body. So that's something that we can check in a second. 35. Okay, something like that. I kind of like it. And let's see. One thing that we can do, you see here, we can apply a radial gradient at 50% 0, red 50%, and then transparent. Okay, cool. So I don't know if you can see the difference between this and this. There's not much difference, but there's a little bit, because the fur is 111, that is a really dark gray, but this is a shadow that is black. Still, let's make it a little bit better by saying 100%, 50%. Let's see how that looks. Oh, 60, 70, 80. Cool. So we could keep it like that and pretend that it has a chain or something. But for now, just let's make it bar for dark. And what I'm going to say is for dark is 000. So what it changes is that, imagine that we update the color later and we make it, like that, and you can see now the shade there. Anyway, maybe 222 is better. You can see the shadow now, so maybe 222 is nicer. Another thing that I'm going to do is I may make it a funny thing later. I may do a gradient here, so the bottom part is a little bit darker. So, but we'll see. let's continue. And where was I? Oh yeah, the body. So let's put here a 0. Let's see what happens. Okay. Yeah, no. I wanted to have that small curve here. You see that the curve goes up. I like that way. Anyway, so what we are going to do is, first we're going to add the legs. So one leg, and the legs are the back legs, and then we're going to add the paws. That truly is going to be the front legs. Okay, so let's see how it looks. We haven't added anything, so that's fine. Good. So what we're going to do is, for the paw, it's going to have a width of 30%, height of 70, border of 1 em solid white. Okay, border radius 0, 5 em. So, okay, cool. So what we're going to do, maybe a little bit more. That may be too much, but it's okay. Top 20%. Ooh, that's way too much. That's too much too, so let's say 45. Okay, we don't want a border top. Border top 0. Rotate counterclockwise minus 10 degrees. And left 10%. That's it. And now we can update that later in a second, okay? Don't worry, be happy. So that's one, and then the other one. We do the same thing as with the eyes and the ears. Now we can do right 10%, and now because we have the left here, we have to set up a left of auto or it's not going to work. And then we can add a rotation of 13 degrees. We don't want it to be exactly the same, exactly symmetrical, okay? And what we want to do also is that I don't like how it looks so symmetrical again, so I'm going to add a clip path. It's going to be a polygon 0, 0, 100, 0. So this is just making it, everything is visible, okay? And then we're going to change it a little bit, maybe 30% here. Did I not do it right? Clip path polygon, I'm missing a G, see? And maybe here I can do 30%. Let's make it 20 so it's not the same. And then this one, we're going to make it a little bit different. So it's again not the same. Maybe here we do a 25 and here we do a 35. You see, so, and then 15. Yeah, like that, you see. So now it's not exactly a maybe height of 48%. The idea is that I don't want it to be symmetrical. I'm really picky about those things. I know it's silly, but I don't want it to be symmetrical. Again, it's me being silly, but it's the way I am, I guess. Maybe here, make it a 25. Okay, so we have the front legs, and we're going to lower them even a little bit more, 49. And for you, 50. Okay, cool. We have the front legs, the front paws, and maybe what we can do is the back legs, obviously. So let's do this. We come here and we say leg. So the leg is going to be something that comes here like that. So let's see, width. So let's see, width. I'm going to be messy. Let's see how this works. Background bar fur. Oh, I'm missing a parenthesis. What's going on with me today? Okay, bottom 0, left 50%, translate minus 50%. So first of all, one thing I see is that I want to make it larger, so like that. That may be too large, so a little bit shorter. Okay, then what I want to do is a border radius, and I'm going to put here that 3 a.m. 3 a.m. 30%, 30%. Let's see how that looks. Not how I was expecting, to be honest. Oh, 3 a.m. 3 e.m. 3 e.m. 100%, 100%. Okay, that almost, but no. Let's say 8 and 8 and 8 and 8. Okay, that looks a little bit better. Maybe I can do how does an 8 a.m. look? 10? I don't know. I don't know. Let's see. 10 a.m. 10 e.m. I keep saying a.m. when it's e.m., which is terrible. Ooh, I kind of like that, but it's upside down. Let's cheat a little. Probably shouldn't do it like that. But yeah, another thing that I can do is I don't like how these hands are super super tall, super thick, sorry. I kind of like it a little bit taller, not that tall. Or maybe if I make it em 10 em and these 16 and 16. Okay, a little bit better. Let's see the paws. Yes, the white thing. I don't like how it's like that. Let's see what happens if I put a border right of 0.75 em solid. Okay, that's a little bit better there. Border, you see, scale minus 1. And right 7 maybe. Anyway, so that's one of the things, and the only thing that we have left to do is probably the tail, and actually I like it more when it's 0.75 all of them. And then the border bottom I can make it 1. That looks a little bit better. And maybe also 54, and this is just me being picky. Top 45. Let's see, left 5. This is again me just being picky. Let's lower it 53, 52. Okay, and you top 47. And left auto, right here 4. Okay, it's not perfect. I don't know if I'm sold by that, to be honest, but I'm going to undo it. And let's see, just leave it like that for now. No, I want to do the border bottom 1. Okay, like that. Cool. And the only thing that we would have left to do is, if we want, we can add a div class tail. And for the tail, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make something coming here with a circle at the bottom. So that's going to be here, and we say if there's a tail, it's actually going to look a lot like the whisker, so I'm going to be a little bit cheeky and come here and copy the whisker. Where's the tail? It's here. I'm going to give it a C index of 9999 right now. That's silly because we don't have anything, so just a C index of 1 would work too. I just don't know why I put 99999. It's really silly, to be honest, to do it. And just so I can see it over the cat, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And I'm going to make it, probably I don't want to click path. I will want to click path later, actually. So let's make it 300. No, 0. Well, actually, no, that's fine. So let's make it 10 a.m. Let's see how that looks. We need to make it larger. 50. Cool. So now we know that 8 a.m. may be better. 10 a.m. is too much. And what we're going to do is, that looks okay. Maybe too big still, so 7. Okay. We're going to place it at the bottom. Yeah, I need to take into account that this is the whole circle. So truly, I'm not doing it correctly. It shouldn't be there. So bottom is going to be, let's make it from the top, is going to be maybe 80%. Less than 80, 75, but almost. And the left is going to be 50%. Let's see how that looks. That's fine, maybe a little bit more, 52. Okay, and we want to put a circle here. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a pseudo element before that has a position on absolute because we set it up here, so we don't have to worry about that. We need to add a content, otherwise it's not visible. And we know that we want it to have a 7. So width 7 em, aspect ratio 1, background fur, border radius 50%, and I am sure that there's a mathematical equation for this, you know, using sinus or cosine or whatever. I'm just going to do it a little bit trial and error. I'm sorry for that. 75 and translate 50 minus 50. Oh, that's too much. Anyway, so let's not translate anything. And let's put here top of minus 10%. Let's see how that looks. And then 80 here. We may need to go a little bit lower and a little bit more here. That looks a little bit better. So we're going to make it for dark, and we're going to do the same thing for these two, and we're going to remove the red, and we're going to make it like that. And what we're going to do also is that we're going to remove the C index, so it's there, and now you can see that's our cat with a tail. Again, one of the things of using font size is that, imagine that now I want to make it 10 pixels. So it will scale naturally. You see, 1 pixel, 4 pixels, and then I can do 10 pixels. I put 1 vmin, so I know that it's going to be contained within the screen. Now that I'm done with the drawing, I can remove this, and I save, and that's it. That's a drawing of a cat using CSS.